Yeah, it's holiday season now, so if you're trying to, even if you post Thanksgiving, Black Friday shopping, bro, like going out grocery shopping is one of the worst chores that you can ever do. If you want to piss off a man, ladies out there, if you want to piss off your man, send him grocery shopping, man, because it's brutal, man. Like I was ready to give up on like I should have just. We were talking off air, bro, but I should have just did what you did and then just ordered fast food and just lived to fight another day with the grocery shopping.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with getting fast food, man. I told you should have got Wendy's or you should have got Burger King or ordered a Domino's pizza or something instead of going grocery shopping and dealing with all those mad people.
Yeah, I see, but that's the thing though. So, mm, yeah, for the last week and a half, and the one time that I try to be responsible, I was like, nah, man, I ain't doing this no more. Wendy's do sound good, man. They came out with the new pretzel baconator.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know what? You know what? I think I might do that tonight after we get done with the show. So I
Hell
think I
yeah.
might just do that. Yeah. But
I had a baconator and fries myself and a Dr Pepper.
do you
It's
do
all
a
good.
double baconator or do you do a single or triple?
Come on, man. I'm a man. Give me a double. I need to have at least a double baconator.
I swear to God, bro, I did not even know that they did single, double, or triple until they asked me. I've always just thought it was double. And then
Yeah.
I realized
Well,
that it was a single version too.
and if you go to Arby's, they have the monster roast beef. You can actually order. I'm telling you, man, that it's packed with roast beef, and you could probably make 2 or 3 sandwiches out of that bad boy.
I ain't had Arby's in I don't think years, but shoot, their roast beef kind of looks a little weird. They look like some Achilles. You know what? Oh, speaking of Achilles, bro, we got to talk about briefly this Aaron Rodgers stuff.
Yeah,
He is now back at practice with the Jags
yeah.
after tearing his Achilles, man. That dude is a cyborg.
I wouldn't. If I was him, I wouldn't chance it. I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna take the rest of the season off. He can do his own private workouts and whatever. But my
I'm
whole
kind of
fear of Aaron Rodgers coming off of that Achilles tear is how when you pull the turkey drumstick off the turkey and it just
yes,
kind of like
yes,
meat
that's
just
what I mean.
flings everywhere. That's what's going to happen to Aaron Rodgers the first time he goes out
That's
in the
what I
field
mean.
in 21 days.
Oh my gosh,
Mm-mm.
bro! You just said that, man. I just saw a video on YouTube or I think Twitter, or whatever, or X, however you want to call Twitter these days,
Mhm.
that somebody pulled up a nice, hot, steaming, freshly cooked turkey leg, and then the meat just fell off, and then they
Just
even
fell
titled
off.
it Aaron Rodgers' Achilles. that
Yep. Yep.
was
No.
it was so funny to me, but it was like, but I'm here for it though. I'm here for the storyline because I ain't never seen nobody come back from that injury so soon. This will be the
Bro.
best storyline from a quarterback injury since Philip Rivers played on a torn ACL in the AFC Championship game back in 07.
Right.
That was
But
that was some crazy stuff.
if I was
Like,
him, because I'm 47 years old tomorrow,
mhm,
by the way,
mhm.
if I tore my Achilles tendon and if I was still in the shape that Aaron Rodgers is in today, and I know he's only 39, 38, 39 years old,
Dude,
I
that's
would
still
not be
old in
going out
football
there.
years.
Exactly. I wouldn't be going out there to chance it. No, no way. I'm
No,
like, you
I
know
don't
what?
think
Sorry,
so either.
guys. I'm going to wait till next year.
Yeah, I'm here for the story. Unfortunately for the Bengals, our story kind of ended when Joe Burrow's season went down. I mean, I did hear that successful surgery has happened. We've already
Yes.
announced that this past Monday. We'll get into a little bit more of that, but first and foremost, thank you for hanging out with us. Enjoy the show. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us on another edition of the Running Through the Jungle episode. We're previewing the Jaguars today because we have a nice little Monday night uniform matchup with our White Tiger going against their blackout Jags outfit. I'm your host, Justin Lacey, joining you with Tim Lyons as well. Brandon, he is not able to join us today, but we're going to rock the house with just the two of us. How you feeling, Tim?
Good, doing good. Today's Wednesday. Tomorrow's my birthday. I got my wife's making me my special because we already talking about food. Somehow I'll just keep talking about food. She's making me my favorite meal of all time is her homemade meatloaf. She bought me a
I love
cheesecake
it.
to have along with dessert for my birthday. So
Oh,
I'm excited for tomorrow's birthday dinner. It's gonna be yummy.
that is going. First of all, happy early birthday, man! I know we're a day
Thank you,
early
sir.
in that, but never can be too early to celebrate your birthday, man. Of our one of our co-host partners in the show, cheesecake sounds delicious, bro. I that is one of my favorite cakes.
Yeah.
I got my top three. I got red velvet cake, cheesecake, and German chocolate cake. A lot of people don't like German chocolate cake, but those are my best three cakes in the world. You can never go wrong with those on a given any given day for me personally. And meatloaf, yeah, that sounds clutch. So your wife is doing
Hmm.
you proud, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know what's funny is like I don't like cake. I like just cheesecake, pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
I like that kind of stuff. I'm not a big cake fan, but yeah, she's doing it up for me. She asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and that was what I wanted, and I cannot wait. I'm gonna be a happy fat guy.
And it's the perfect time. Your birthday falls right in the perfect time. It's fresh out from Thanksgiving, you
Yep.
know, and going into the Christmas holiday season.
Hmm.
Everybody's working hard on putting their Christmas trees and their decorations up, which I'm all for that now. People that don't know me all too well, I will share this little bit of nugget about myself, and it might turn some people off. I don't really care. I'm not a fan of people that put their Christmas trees up immediately after Halloween is over. You just disrespect Thanksgiving, and that's not something that I particularly enjoy. I'm always seeing people talking about like, "Oh my gosh, it's look at my Christmas tree," and it's only November 3rd. Okay, like, can we at least have Thanksgiving first? However, there is a compromise that I have came to a conclusion of understanding is that if you put your Christmas tree, especially if you live in a big house, you have multiple trees everywhere. First of all, what are you in a forest? I don't know why you have that many trees. Like one, maybe two at max. That should be the most that you should have up in one household. But if you put your Christmas tree up and you don't decorate it until after Thanksgiving, that is acceptable to me. That I feel like that is not disrespect Thanksgiving enough. So, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I don't know
Y-
if you
you
feel the
know,
same way, but that's how I feel.
well, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I live with Mrs. Christmas. She loves
Mhm.
Christmas. I ain't. Yeah. There's times where she puts up that Christmas tree way too early. But you know what? If it makes her heart grow 10 times bigger, I'm not gonna stop her. I will just say, "Yes, honey, I'll go get the tree." Yes, ma'am.
Look, it's always great being in a holiday spirit. I'm as jolly as they come during Christmas time. But I also another thing I have to agree with when it comes to understanding when you decorate the house early. If you one of those households that got like 1,000 Christmas lights all over the place, that stuff's gonna take time. So I get it. I really do get it. But for most average Joes that just throw a few things up here and there, not going to take them longer than like 2 hours of your day. Just wait until after Thanksgiving is done. But again, it's your life. You do what you want to do. I'm sure a lot of people that hear me say this think that I'm bitter and I'm just a hater, and I'm not. I love Christmas just like anybody else. This is my favorite time of the year. It's mostly anybody that celebrates Christmas favorite time of the year. I just like to also respect Thanksgiving, even
I,
though
I can
we have
agree.
yet to talk a little bit about football. So, but let's go ahead and get into it, man. We got we got to get into what's the state of the team is so far right now. This past Monday, Zach Taylor and the team have given a statement that Joe Burrow has successfully had surgery on his wrist, on his throwing hand, and he's going to he is expecting to make a full recovery and to join the team as we prepare for our game for Jacksonville. Not join the team as if obviously playing, but he's going to be with the team to sort of just to be a presence in the locker room still. Personally, I'm happy that Joe is. I'm happy that Joe was able to get the surgery done. A part of me wanted him to get that surgery done a little bit sooner because I
Yeah.
held out hope that he was going to come back at some point during late in the season, you know. But I'm not going to lie to you, man. Once we lost that game against the Steelers, it felt like that was the thing that kicked the hope wind out of me, and now I'm just watching the game just to watch them. I don't know how you feel about this.
Like I said on Monday when we recorded our recap, our roaring reactions, I am just going to go into these games as it is what it is and enjoy watching our Bengals play and kind of see what is there to come for next year. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that, I don't want us to tank. There, that tanking is just
It's so it's
it,
losers
it's cheap.
mentality, ain't it?
Yeah, yeah, it's real
It's
cheap. So
yeah,
y-
like
yeah, I don't want us to tank. I want us to, and they're going to go out there. They're professionals. They're going to go out there. They're going to give 110%, win or lose. I'm still a Cincinnati Bengals fan. It's going to be interesting to see, what's going to come for our defense and, what's going to come for our offense in time to come.
yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I'm not on that train where we need to just tank and then we're looking forward to mock draft season and oh well the Bengals may have a top 10 pick. You can miss me with all of that right now. That's
Right.
losers mentality thinking. That I don't want to be in that bucket, man. I only did that two times. The first time was the obvious time of what we know that 2019 season, Andy Dalton's final year was going absolutely nowhere, and we had no hope. We needed a shot in hell to see what our future can be. And
Right.
then that game against the Miami Dolphins, where it went to overtime, we thought like we really about to win this game when we want this team to lose. And
Yeah.
that was the game that was going to secure us the number one overall draft pick. Because if we would have won that game and we, even though we still had to beat the Cleveland Browns or lose against the Cleveland Browns the following week, we would have lost out on the number one pick and it would have went to Washington. They would have taken Joe Burrow. Regardless, as
Right.
it all ended up working out in itself, but that was really the only time that I wanted us to truly tank when it was super late in the season. But I still remember the team itself, even that year, didn't tank. They didn't like actively tank. They didn't sell off any
No.
parts. They didn't trade guys for draft picks or anything like that. First of all, nobody had really any trade value that season. And it was just they were just naturally bad. Just flat out bad.
Yeah. I
So I
think
don't think they
I
were
think that
actively tanking.
year I think that year I think we lost like, man, I want to say it was like almost 10 games by like points we lost the games by. There was
Mm-hmm.
just we were losing games by points. It was a slobber knockers every single time we were getting beat. And, yeah, there were some games that we got mollywopped, but now I believe in 2019 is when we were like just winning, just losing the games by like points and field goals and stuff like that.
If I'm not mistaken, I remember. So the Bengals started 0-11 before Zach Taylor's got his first win against the Jets.
Hmm.
Andy Dalton had got benched. Everybody remembers he got benched on his birthday, but people was all up in arms about Andy getting benched that time on his birthday, sadly. And I feel for him, but the dude was 0-8. His last game was against the Rams in London, and he played like absolute dog trash. I didn't want him no more as my starting quarterback. And we all knew that the writing was on the wall for Andy Dalton after week 4 of that season. When we went on the road to Pittsburgh playing a Ben Roethlisberger-less Steelers team that had half
Hmm.
a roster filled with injuries. I think it was Duck Hodges or Mason Rudolph, whatever the case. I think it was Mason Rudolph that doing that first one. Had no energy at all against that team, and you only scored nothing but 3 points, and they didn't
Yeah.
even look good that season either. But like they showed no active energy. Pittsburgh did in their own house. I don't remember what the score was, but it was lopsided. And at that point, we had Andy Dalton, and we had our starting quarterback. AJ Green missed that whole season, but I think at that point that told me like, all right, I'm done. Now I want to move on. That was where I knew from my whole deep down in my bottom of my heart after trying to root for Andy throughout all those years, I knew that we had to move on and that I'm okay to just let's just figure out what our next move at quarterback is going to be. And it happened.
Right.
Then the second time was the year after that. Joe Burrow got hurt, but that wasn't an
Hmm.
active tank job. Joe Burrow inherited a bad team. But that was one that led us to getting Jamar Chase at the number 5th overall pick in 2021, as we already know, succumb to the Chase debate versus Sewell. Which one are you going to fall on the side of the fence of? But the beautiful thing
Yeah.
about that is, even if you were Team Panay Sewell during that pick, you weren't necessarily wrong. It's just Chase offered a more explosive element that will help you win games and more at a higher level than Panay Sewell would. Panay Sewell's doing great. I love what he's doing in the league, but Jamar
Yeah.
Chase pairing him up with Joe Burrow's skill set was just going to be awesome. And it came to a blessing in disguise. Unfortunately, it had to cost Joe Burrow getting his knee torn up, and we didn't like seeing that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had that number 5th overall pick because Burrow would have rattled off several more wins. And who knows, man? We probably could have been in position to get the last wild card spot. But that's neither here nor there. That was his rookie year. We had a lot of growing pains that go through that season. But this year, it's not a tank job. It's just not. And I understand the popular opinion on social media is that, hey, if you lose your starting quarterback, well, if you lose all these games, you'll get yourself in a better draft position pick. Man, you got to stop a lot of that, man. To all those fans
Right.
that's thinking about that, look at last year when the Ravens had actually the last 2 years when the Ravens lost Lamar Jackson due to a knee and an ankle injury that set him back several games in back-to-back years. Dude, now they finished 4th place during the first time in 21. 8-9
Mm-hmm.
was their record. And then last year, as we know, we played them in the first round of playoffs playing Tyrod Taylor. I'm not Tyrod Taylor, Tyler Huntley.
Huntley.
But yet the Ravens and John Harbaugh was still able to coach his team and will the team to a postseason appearance. They didn't do any kind of tank job, and that didn't yield them a top 10 draft pick by any means. And look where they at now. You know, I got to give respect to where respect is due and give credit to where credit is due because the
Yeah.
coaching matters here. I don't think our coaching is playing up to par when it comes down to it. How do you feel? I mean, I need to hear your thoughts before I continue.
There this time of the year with what's going on with the Bengals, Joe's on the IR because of his wrist and he had surgery and all that stuff. So we know, Jake Browning is on the hot seat. But it also gives us the opportunity to see what those younger guys are going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yoshi and Charlie Jones and Chase Brown. We're going to be able to see. Hopefully, we'll see the younger guys on the field a little bit more. See what Murphy's going to end up doing. Of course, we already seen what Turner and CTB's going to be. What they've been doing this year. Jordan Battle's going to be seeing more time on the field. Um, uh, you know, I don't think. I think down the road we're set up for success for defense. For the defensive
I
side
do
of the
too.
ball. My questions and concern right now, and I've been thinking about this for the last couple of weeks after Joe got hurt. So for the last 2 weeks now, well, almost 2 weeks. My question is coaching is my question right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying, do not twist my words. Do not think I'm thinking, oh, fire Zach Taylor, fire Lou. No. Or fire Brian Callahan. I'm not absolutely saying that. Right now is they are under the microscope of questionable play calling. Who's calling the offense? Who's calling the defense? My biggest concern is Frank Pollock, the offensive line and running game coach. You know, as you guys all know, whoever listens to this podcast, I am a big run the ball guy, run the damn ball. Mike, that's what's questionable for me right now is the coaching. What's going on with the offensive line side, the running back side, quarterback coaches. And then, of course, the defense. Lou is Lou. I love Lou. Lou's a mad scientist. And I am not going to blame Lou and the defense for losing that game against the Steelers because, like I said on Monday, when you're on the field for 37 minutes, what do you expect's going to happen? It's not going to. A defense, no matter how good they are, you could have the best defense out there. If you have them out there on the field for 37 freaking minutes, what do you think's going to happen? They're going to start making mistakes. They're going to start, getting blown in coverage. Yeah, sometimes the Lou, let's blitz everybody on this God's green country, kind of bites us in the butt. But the guys are tired. They're going to be tired. We're going to be continue to be tired. If our offense is only on the field for 22 minutes in a game, let's expect the worst to happen on defense. We got some tough games coming up. We have the Jags on Monday Night Football. We have the Colts the Colts to play, the Steelers to play again, the Browns to play again, and the Chiefs to play. And I know there's somebody else I'm missing too, I think.
Vikings.
Vikings, yes. So, we got some teams coming along. The Vikings, I ain't putting those guys aside. They got the mad rocket scientist over there. You don't know what's going to come out of that.
Mhm.
Of course, we got the
Yeah.
Steelers again. So those are my concerns. And I'm not going to say, like I said, I'm not going to say we need to fire this person, that person. No, we need to really look at them with a fine tooth comb and microscope of how play calling is done, what's going on in Paycor right now while they're not on the field.
You know what? I got a lot that I want to touch on based off of everything that you said there. That's actually going to lead us to our keys to the game of discussing when we're going into this matchup. But first, we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, I'm going to double down and I'm going to talk to you about our stance with the coaching staff and how we're evaluating this team moving forward, as well as we're going to get into the nucleus of this matchup. So hang right with us, guys. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Thank you so much again for joining us here. So where we left off was, you were talking about evaluating the coaching staff with the fine tooth comb, and I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
Zach Taylor, I am not on the train of firing Zach Taylor at all. This dude has been a part of helping us get to a certain level of respectability, not just respectability of being decent. No, we're winning at a high level. We're winning big time games at a high level. And Zach Taylor has something to do with that, whether if you guys believe in him as a head coach or not. So I'm not on that train with firing Zach Taylor. I just won't be on that. It could be worse. See the LA Chargers. Um, but what I am going to do, and this is very popular among Bengaldom and Bengal world, is question the play calling duties. Is it time that he finally gives up the play calling aspect moving on after this season? And not only just play calling, is it time to look for a new offensive coordinator? Because I'm not going to lie to you. I heard the transcripts of Brian Callahan's speech, his interview, his press conference, whatever you want to call it this week. I'm not impressed with what he had to say at all. Again, I didn't hear the full dialogue. I just heard a few things in pockets, of things that was being said. But it felt like it was a lot of excuse making, and it also felt like just because we were playing Pittsburgh, it felt like we gave them way too much respect instead of playing our football game too. Uh, I don't think you've noticed this, guys on the offensive staff, but the Bengals are set up to play bully ball too. You can
Hmm.
run down Pittsburgh's throat too. I don't care how great their defense is. I do not respect Terrell Austin as their defensive coordinator at all. That defense lives and breathes through TJ Watt, Cam Hayward. They didn't even have Minka Fitzpatrick that game. So that was purely unacceptable that we really couldn't get the ball moving at a higher rate than we did. Now, I do not put the blame on Jake Browning too much, even though I did kind of rip him a little bit during our reaction show. But what I did do was I did rip the defense quite a bit because my next point is this is where we're going to have a little bit of a disagreement on. We might agree a little bit, but might disagree. It's time to evaluate in Lou Anarumo. I love him as a defensive coordinator, but I think that his defense is getting to the point where I maybe it's got to that point where enough teams have figured him out and put enough film on tape how to stop it or how to beat it that you letting guys like Kenny Pickett, and I know Kenny Pickett was under a lot of fire this past week leading up to our game against him. They were throwing ducks all over the field. Their offense was atrocious. They still didn't really perform that impressive, but I don't think that was subdued because of our defense. I think that was subdued because how bad their offense still was, and they couldn't really get any touchdowns, even though they put up all those yards. The bend but don't break method is starting to catch up to them, and teams are starting to surpass that mythology to where they know that we're going to make that key stop, and they're still able to overcome it. Now you got to figure out if Lou Anarumo is the kind of guy that can help adjust. It is very damning that we have not won a game in the AFC North at all. It's very that just think about that. We had pretty good games against high quality teams like the San Francisco 49ers. I know the Bills are being shaky right now of how their season's progressing, but when the Bills came to our jungle on Sunday Night Football, we put them to the bed. We put their ass to bed. Same thing with the
Right.
Seattle Seahawks. Even though the Seattle our offense had struggled and stymied a little bit there, we were cooking with fish grease during those games. It felt like, and I think that was our offense and Joe Burrow leading the charge for those games. Our
Yeah.
defense was playing along and playing that bend but don't break defense, but they weren't dominant. They weren't like full blown dominant and in your face. Trey Hendrickson, he did get a couple of strip sacks and stuff, not in this past game, but during the stretch when we had our 4-game winning streak where he's a closer, he's a finisher. But it just doesn't feel, I don't feel like the defense takes over in the critical elements like you want them to. Pittsburgh's defense does. That's how they gotten all those wins. So now the question to me is starting to feel like, is this defense starting to show his Achilles heel way too much this season? And if Lou Anarumo, I'm not saying that he needs to be gone, but if Lou Anarumo the guy that can help right the ship to get it back to where it gets? Your thoughts?
I honestly don't think Lou's going to be with us next year. I think he's going to end up going to be a head coach somewhere, believe it or not.
I don't
But
think so either.
if, but if there is a chance that we keep Lou in Cincinnati, I think Lou is the type of person, because you've seen him come out and the defense will come out in the first half, and we're like, where's our defense at? And then the second half, they come out and just shut, for example, when we're playing against Kansas City and the Bills and stuff, they come out and they shut them down that second half. So
Mhm.
I can say that I do have faith in Lou, that he can make that adjustment. And yeah, the bend don't break thing, it's not going to work for a whole, 60 minutes. It's not going to work. Eventually you're going to let, costly plays happen. And our biggest weakness right now is the middle of the field, believe it or not. I don't believe,
Tight ends.
and don't get me wrong. Don't anybody take this the wrong way. I don't think Jermaine Pratt is playing up to his potential right now. We're seeing Logan Wilson playing well. Yes, tight end situations. We can't, for some reason, we cannot guard a damn tight end to save our lives right now, which doesn't
Mhm.
make any sense. But that's because of play calling and personnel. They're not putting the right personnel on, or they're not even covering. They're playing zones, or whatever. If you play a zone, you're gonna leave an opening between the linebacker and the safety, and right in the middle of the seam, there goes the tight end. He's wide open.
Yeah,
You know,
I feel like they
so
haven't really figured. I feel like that and this has been a whole season long problem. This is even with Joe Burrow being healthy. They haven't
mhm,
figured out how to cover the middle of the field on the defensive
no,
side of the ball, specifically the tight ends. It was
right,
just outlandishly annoying seeing Pat Fryermuth catch those down the seam middle of the field balls by Kenny
yep,
Pickett. Some of them are really good throws, and you got to tip your cap to him on the good throws. But for the most part, the dude was just left wide open. It's like,
yeah,
come, how long is this going to keep on going on? It's almost like when you play the Bengals, the safest bet that you need to make if you want to make some money, whoever the tight end is for that particular team, bet the over in the receiving yards, because that
yeah,
seems to be the trend for when you play the Bengals on
mhm,
offense going against our defense. But that's a lot of that is going to be evaluated regarding our coaching staff as we continue these remaining 6 games. However, Jacksonville's on deck. So
yeah,
they're a team that feels a lot like how we were in last year. They're in that seat. They just finished their 2022 season of winning a playoff game. They fell short against a wounded Patrick Mahomes in the divisional round. I feel like that they're during that time that they'll be okay. They weren't ready to see the big brothers yet. They weren't ready to be the big dogs. They got to grow up a little bit. Their defense, their team, they got feisty players on that side of the ball,
Mhm.
but they didn't have enough dogs to make a continued run down the stretch. Even though I know many Bengals fans, when they saw Mahomes got hobbled and Jacksonville had an opportunity to win the game, that we were rooting for Jacksonville. But personally,
Yeah.
I just knew that that wasn't going to happen. Like Kansas City is
Yeah.
too much of a big dog on the big stage in the playoffs for Jacksonville to pull off that upset. I like what they're doing this year. I know Trevor Lawrence's stats was kind of hit or miss it a little bit, but he's taking that next step, man. He's become one of the elite quarterbacks in the game. Um, I haven't given my updated top 10 ranking after this particular week, but Trevor Lawrence is no question up there. He has done a great job commanding the team, uh, bringing them a part of their presence to show that, hey, I'm the guy that's going to help us get to where we need to go. A lot like how we have with Joe Burrow. Do I put him above Joe Burrow? Not really. No,
No.
he's not. He hasn't earned that yet. So, but I think the world of Trevor Lawrence, and that's saying a lot. I think that he's earned it. I mean, again, he's won a division last season, even though you can thank the collapse job by the Tennessee Titans is the reason why they
Yeah.
end up getting that. But they also still capitalized and won a playoff game by coming back down 27-7 at halftime to the LA Chargers, who, I mean, we're not going to talk going to that. But this season, you know, again, they had a little bit of hiccups early on. They lost a
Mhm.
game against the Kansas City Chiefs. They could have won 17-9, I believe, was the score. They didn't really look good offensively at all. The defense is okay, but not the team just didn't look good. But that was so early on in the season. I believe it was week 2 that they didn't grow together yet. It was just a little ugly start. They
Yeah.
also got beat up by the CJ Stroud Texans early in the season. They lost that first matchup. But then you
Mhm.
saw them right the ship and started rattling off these wins, these bigger wins against more dominant teams because they are becoming a dominant team. Beating the Bills in London, beating the Steelers, even though the Steelers are not a dominant team, but their record indicates that they're a winning team. So you got to give them credit. They go into
Mhm.
Heinz Field, I'm sorry, Acrisure Stadium. They beat the Steelers at their own game, and Trevor Lawrence
Yep.
plays a great game. They just beat CJ Stroud in the Houston Texans in round
Yep.
2. It took a missed field goal for them to happen, but at the end of the day, Trevor Lawrence still was able to outplay CJ Stroud, and that was a fun game to kind of like pay attention to on the side. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that Jacksonville has definitely been trending in the right direction for a while now, and it's going to be a tough sledding game. It was going to be a tough game even with Joe Burrow. This was a game that I truly predicted that this should have been our loss. You know, if Burrow
Yeah.
didn't get hurt and he didn't lose against the Texans, but then he lost against Houston and then obviously got hurt against Baltimore. We ain't going to continue talking about that. But this Jacksonville team is tough, man. Trayvon Walker is starting to develop on his own as a guy that can
Josh.
consistently rush the passer and be a closer for that team. I love what I'm
Mhm.
seeing from him. Their receiving core is deep. Christian Kirk has developed really well. They got a great tight end in Evan Ingram. Like we
Mhm.
can't not pay attention to that. Travis Etienne runs the ball like crazy hell. I wish the Bengals can copy and paste their running attack with Joe Mixon and others like they doing with Travis Etienne. And I think they got Tank
Mhm.
Bisbee too, if I'm not mistaken. But I think the world of this Jacksonville Jaguars team that I've been watching on the side, just kind of bubbling up to the surface of one of the AFC supremacy teams. And while I don't put them as the best team in the conference right there at all, at least I think they're number 4 or 3, give or take, if you were to do the
3.
AFC power rankings.
I'd say
I
3.
think that this team can, how they're playing right now, this team can go toe to toe by beating Baltimore. They can beat Kansas City, and they can beat the Miami Dolphins. They can beat anybody, really.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
only team that I felt like that they couldn't beat when the chips are down and it mattered the most was Cincinnati if we were at full strength and playing our best ball, but we're not. So I've already talked enough about it. So let's hear you, Tim. Let's talk about keys to the game. What do you think that our keys to the game is if we were to try to pull off an upset here?
I'm just hoping that it's not a repeat of last week where, we give up on the run game, put too much pressure on Jake Browning, to throw the football. We can't let him go out there and throw for 30, 30, 40 times. It just can't happen. So the key to victory that I'm seeing is run the damn football, open up the pass play action game, you know, give Jake some time in the pocket. And our defense, not be out there for 30 minutes. Well, I'm sorry, 37 minutes this week. That's going to be the biggest key to our win there. It's going to be hard because you're coming out there, and I know I'm going into my concern of the game, but I might as well do it because I'm pretty short-handed or
Sure, yeah,
short-witted.
go ahead.
My biggest concern is, and when I say we got to run the ball and mix it up and get those play actions open, is because Jacksonville's got a hell of a rush or a pass defense. Josh Allen's got 14 sacks right now.
I forgot
Trayvon,
Josh Allen. I didn't even mention
yeah,
Josh Allen. Yeah, but go
yeah.
ahead. Sorry, continue.
Trayvon Walker's got 4.5 sacks right now. When the Jacksonville Jaguars get at least one sack a game, they're 6-0. So my concern is, like I said, that pass defense is my biggest concern because we got Jake Browning back there, and our $44 million offensive line right now is not blocking the best and protecting Jake. You know, um, so there is that concern. And then you also look at Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence threw for 364 yards last week, a couple touchdowns, and a accidental pick that shouldn't have been a pick. They got Calvin Ridley. They've got Kirk. Then of course our biggest concern is tight ends. Tight end, if Evan Ingram, because Evan Ingram, he's a bad boy. He's fast, and if he runs up the seam on us, we could be in some big trouble. And then of course our biggest Achilles heel of them all is our rush defense. We gotta stop ETN. ETN, like Brandon said on Monday, he could run for 200 yards on us easy. If our defense is on that field for too long, that could be a major concern for us. You know, but I'm hoping that the Bengals, mix it up, show some different views of the run game, the pass game, instead of coming out there in shotgun formation and thinking Jake Browning is Joe Burrow. Jake is not Joe. He will never be Joe. There is no other Joe in this NFL besides Joe frickin' Burrow. Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. Unfortunately for us, we ran into this situation again this year. We lost Joe for the rest of the year. So that being said, the coaches are going to have to come up with some different kind of play calling, some different kind of for motion plays, putting Jamar Chase in the slot. Maybe let Chase Brown go out there and run the ball too, besides just Joe Mixon. So those are my concerns, and that's my key. My key to victory is that's what it is, and hopefully we see a different Bengals game or Bengals team out there on Monday. They are all in white. We have a pretty good win record all in white, so let's keep that going.
Well, we also had a pretty good win record if we were in orange jerseys and black pants, like we played in that uniform combo last week, and you saw how that played out.
Thanks for
So I'm not
ruining.
put. No, I'm sorry. I'm not going to put too much stock into the white helmet, white uniform. Um, it's going to be a dope ass uniform combo matchup.
Beautiful.
They're going with the blackout, and we're going with the white tiger. So that's going to be a nice uniform combo matchup. For me, I'm just going to just keep it 100%. It's the wrong opponent at the wrong time. Um, I said this about when the Buffalo Bills played the Bengals that for them they had to come and see us. It was the wrong opponent at the wrong time for them, and I didn't see not one iota how they was going to be able to beat the team that we were playing some pretty hot damn football at that time. Jacksonville is I feel the complete opposite in about the Bengals this time around going into Jacksonville. Jacksonville, they're looking at it as, dude, we better be able to pluck this carrot off out the ground like it's nothing and eat it,
Hmm.
and because we got to capitalize on these opportunities. That's what Jacksonville's thinking right now. And for
Yeah.
for me, I agree with them. I don't
Hmm.
think that. Doug Peterson is going to allow them to lay down. And I think that you're going to get some of their best shots. Again, this game is on Monday Night Football. It did not get flexed out, which I'm glad that it didn't get flexed out. But that also then turns the table and making me look at the Bengals coaching staff as my number one key to the game. How are you are going to adjust when you got all of this working against you? You've been on a recipient and the beneficiary end of a number of those games and that locked in your favor before. Now
Mhm.
it's going against you. The whole world already wrote you off on this game. Let's just, I mean, I'm me a little bit included, but you can still win this game. There are always a pathway to lose this. There's always pathways to win games, even if you have no business winning, because it is the NFL. It is any given Sunday. And as I mentioned before, Jacksonville still has to prove that they are indeed the upper echelon tier of the NFL, more specifically the AFC, but the NFL, period. And to most people's eyes, they haven't really passed that test as being a part of the elites in the NFL. And the AFC, yes, but that's because there are teams that kind of fell off due to injuries or whatever you may have it, like our Cincinnati Bengals. That if the Bengals and they didn't have the injuries that we did have, and I'm not here to try to make injury excuses because it is what it is. If the Bengals didn't have the injury excuses, or if the Jets didn't lose Aaron Rodgers week one, or if the Bills didn't have the gauntlet of injuries on defense like they did, I'm sorry, but Jacksonville is going to be buried down the depth chart of that AFC roster. Now they have an opportunity to just keep fighting. And I like
Mhm.
what they're doing here. For the Bengals, it just falls on the coaching staff for me personally. As you mentioned, and I'm glad you brought it up, please do not game plan this game like you got Joe Burrow at quarterback because was sickening to watch. I
Right.
understand you said their offensive line didn't protect Jake Browning at that well. I kind of disagree a little bit. I think Jake Browning ran into some sacks because he held the ball way too long. It was his very first start. I get that. But the dude has also been in the league for a number of years now. You're not a rookie, even though you made your first may look like you were a rookie on that day. You got to be aware of how to make quick processing decisions of where you know where your guys are going to be at. Just because you're not Joe Burrow, you're still running that offense. You should still understand timing and precision and passing and accuracy. He has a good arm. He's pretty good in the intermediate to short game, passing game. He's just not really a good deep thrower because he doesn't have the arm strength for that. He has a sneaky athleticism built to him, and I do like that about him. But he's just not Joe. And we know this, and everybody understands this. I do not want to see the Bengals go into this game with 8 carries to our running back again with
Mhm.
Jake Browning at quarterback. That was disrespectful to Joe Mixon because he was the guy that could have won you that game along with Jamar Chase had you would have game planned it properly to open up some holes for him to run through and get right in the end zone. You know he was going to be excited to play against Pittsburgh, and yet you didn't take advantage of that. This Jacksonville team, again, they're a hungry, young, feisty defense. They have a really good secondary. They get a lot of turnovers too. As you mentioned, with Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen, I completely whiffed and forgot about Josh Allen because he's their best defensive line player. He has 14 and a half sacks on his way to a Pro Bowl. Now, by the way, Trayvon Walker is starting to kind of come to his own as the former number one overall pick that they took a year ago. So I think that this Jacksonville team is set up to do some damage to this Bengals defense and
Yeah.
offense, really, respectively. On the defensive side of the ball, particularly, we are expected to get Cam Taylor Britt back. So that means that DJ Turner, he went through some growing pains getting picked on a lot by Kenny Pickett. He let up a couple of big passes. You know, even the touchdown that got ruled incomplete because he got his hand in, knifed in there at the last second to
Mhm.
jockey it loose as he was going to the ground. I'm gonna be honest with you, that should have been ruled a touchdown. If that was a
Yeah.
Bengal, I would have said that, hey, bro, he already been had possession, 2 feet down to the ground. He just got the ball in there too late when he was already. That should have been ruled a touchdown. I got to be fair, okay, but
Mhm.
it wasn't. It played in our favor. We forced it. We forced a field goal hold on them. Those kind of things cannot continue to happen. You can't be getting away with sheer dumb luck all the time. You got to sometimes go out there and make your luck happen. And I don't think that everything is going to go well for you, but just because there's a complete total mismatch at quarterback with Trevor Lawrence going against Jake Brown at this time, that don't mean that Jake Brown can't win. Mac Jones beat Justin Fields. I'm sorry. Mac Jones has beaten Justin Herbert. Mac Jones has also beaten Josh Allen before. And both times he was completely outmatched to the talent that he went against on both of their teams. And yet he still was able to pull off a win. That's because coaching matters. I need to see
Mm-hmm.
coaching get better around. On defense, if Cam Taylor Britt is going to come back, he provides the energy and the juice I think that secondary is going to need. Also, trust the young development of Jordan Battle and Dax Hill. Allow them to make plays. Lou, you got to put them in the right spot. We call you Lou Dini, right? Okay. I've been saying on this on air a few times and also on Twitter that your defense lately been getting folded like a panini. We got to stop making this a bend but don't break defense because your defense is literally getting folded. And I don't like this. So, Coach Lou Anarumo, you have to put these guys in better positions. You have a pure athletic safety in Dax Hill, and he's ready to hit guys. I still think back to that Monday night game when we played the Rams, and my goodness, Dax Hill was just
Oh,
it was just a beaming light of speed. Coming off the edge, sacking Matt Stafford, getting pass breakups, just being quick on covering tight ends. He was incredible. But since then, he's disappeared. I don't know.
mm-hmm.
It's not because of him. It's because he's been put in bad situations because you always had Nick Scott opposite of him, who is not good. He hasn't been good all year. Please put him on the bench and just go with the young guys. They're going to grow through they got to go through their growing pains. It is what it is. You just got to deal with it for this year. We're evaluating to see what the rest of this team can be moving forward. Because if you do lose out in these games and you don't play none of these young guys, who's to say that it's going to just magically work in your favor going into next year, even when Joe Burrow comes back healthy? It's not. So you got to play your best cards here, and your best cards are your young guys. Okay, that's my keys to victory on defense to be able to pull off the upset. These Jaguars receivers, they're going to run wild on you. Believe that. But however, you got enough horses and enough speed on the back end to be able to limit those guys to be able to make big circus catches like Marvin Jones Jr. used to do when he was on that team. But
Yep.
Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley, they're streaking down the field open a lot of the times. When I turn on the film and turn on the tape, I'm just impressed with what I see, how Calvin Ridley still gets open. And on the offensive side of the ball, I'll say this as a final nugget before we wrap up and give our score predictions and our game ball predictions. Trust your big time guys. Joe Mixon, you got to give him the ball way more than 8 times. If you got to implement and throw in Chase Brown and Chris Evans, I don't know why they haven't done any creativity with the running game. But yes, I'm gonna coin your phrase: run the damn ball
Mm-hmm.
better and more creative and effective. Please, Jake Brown needs that help. And number two, I don't know if T. Higgins is going to be suited enough to play. I think he is. I'm not sure. But the engine to the passing game is Jamar Chase, and you know it's Jamar Chase. So put the ball in your best player's hands. Be very schematic. I was very disappointed that Jamar ended up leaving the game with 4 catches for 81 yards. He could have had another 100-yard game. You should have done more
Yeah.
creative things with Jamar by moving him around in the slot and also in the backfield like you've done before. You didn't do that none at all last week. You basically just made him easy to defend, and Jamar
Mm-hmm.
is not easy to defend. So let's switch up the game plan a little bit this time, and let's trust our best guys on offense and see what the new guys on defense can grow into. And let's see where it happens. Could it work into an upset? We don't know. I don't believe it could. So as I end my rant towards there, Tim, I'm gonna pass it over to you. What's your score prediction? I think we both know where we're gonna go. What's your score prediction for this Week 13 game against Jacksonville? Also, game ball predictions, win, lose, or draw. That's the thing. Now that we're into this mode of the season, when we give our game ball predictions, it's obviously a nice, great talking point of the show. We've been giving them out win or lose. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
score prediction and game balls on offense and defense.
Well, I'm gonna start off with my game balls first. I'm not gonna give you my game prediction yet. Okay. So, like I said, if they can change what they're doing with the run game and give us different looks, come out with different disguises, motions, and all that stuff. My game ball is going to go to Joe Mixon this week. I think Joe Mixon could possibly have a 100-yard game. I didn't say pass, or I didn't say rushing. He could have a total of 100 yards today this week. Um, my defensive game ball, because he is a workhorse of the secondary, is going to go to Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton, he's going out there. I think the last couple weeks he's been getting like 8 to 10 tackles a game. So I'm going to go with Mike Hilton this week, and I say he's going to get a sack. Now, my score predictions for the game. And I know this is a Bengals podcast, and I know I'm a diehard Bengals fan. But with what happened last week against the Steelers, and I'm afraid that Zach's going to say, "Oh, let's highlight Jake Browning and have him throwing the ball 30 times against the Jaguars." It's going to be a bad idea. But like I said, it is what it is. I'm going to enjoy the game with if we win or lose. I still believe that we're gonna win some games for these. We're gonna win a couple games for these 6 games. There's going to be some upsets. There's going to be some playoff spoils. There's going to be some seeding spoils possibly. But that being said, my game ball or my score prediction is 24-10 Jacksonville.
So I'll do the inverted order. So I'll start off with my score prediction, and then I'll go into game ball prediction. As I already said earlier, when I was beginning my rant with keys to the game, wrong opponent, wrong time. If Joe Burrow was healthy, obviously I will feel a hell of a lot better about this game, especially
Yeah.
because I think that we will be trending in a much more positive and upward direction of winning games, particularly against both Baltimore and Pittsburgh, after dropping one against Houston, which we could have won that game too. So, but that's not what you have right now. And quite frankly, you can't make any excuses because there are adversity that strikes across every team in the NFL. And right now we're just going through the adversity card. So we have to deal with it. Um, I think that there's too many mismatches on offense for me to predict the Bengals upset here. But do I think it could happen? Absolutely. Again, there's always a pathway, no matter how great of a team you are on one end to the other team on the other end that's not as good. The Bengals are not a bad team. They're still a willing, capable, winning roster that can win football games, even at opportune times like this one. So I will predict that the Bengals lose this game, but I don't think there's going to be as bad of a like a dominating, demoralizing effort like I think it was going to be at the beginning of this show. So I'm going to predict that I like the 24-10 prediction score that you give, but I'm not going to copy that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to think that the Bengals are going to say, I think they get a few tutties in there. I'm going to say 27-19. Maybe Jacksonville gets 30, but 27-19 is where I'll end it for the score prediction. I won't be surprised if they make it closer because I do think that the Bengals do play well against other teams that are going into that finesse category. And I think Jacksonville is one of those teams. Buffalo is a finesse team more, stylistically. Same with
Yeah.
Kansas City. They're historically a finesse team with the Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid era. Um, but for some reason, we just struggle against teams in our own division this year. And that's because we're not good at stopping the run. And those 3 teams know how to run the ball really well
Yep.
or play physical, smash mouth football without necessarily running the ball, but play great defense. And we don't seem to have an answer for teams within our own division. Jacksonville is not in our division, but they have already won a game in our division going against
Mhm.
Pittsburgh and beating them. But that's not really telling me much. That Pittsburgh is not the measuring stick of the AFC North this season at all. But I do think the Bengals could make it interesting. However, I'm not predicting them to win. But here's how I think it can make it interesting. So I'm gonna get into my game ball. So I'll start on offense. Um, I
Would you
think
say your
that this
score
is a
was
game.
again?
27-19.
Okay.
Yeah, get that jotted down for me so I can eat crow later if I get it wrong when we do our reaction show. uh, but let's see. So our offense game ball. I think that I like the Joe Mixon selection, but I'm not again. No general rule of the thumb. I don't want to copy a prediction, even though it may seem obvious, because I do want to go with Joe Mixon. But
Then go with
instead,
Joe Mixon.
actually, you know what? I'm actually going to go with Jake Browning. I think Jake Browning is going to grow a little bit. He's going to watch the film. He's going to feel Joe Burrow's presence and his eyes on him to tell him that, look, I got to be better because this is unacceptable. I don't want to let my number one quarterback down. And I think that he may play better than what people give him credit for. He didn't look horrible against Pittsburgh. He just made some
No.
mental errors and just holding on to the ball too long. He made
Yeah.
some good throws. He made a nice little Jake Feisty like move when he got escaped out of a would be sack against, I think it
Yeah.
was Cam Hayward or whatnot, and then threw the ball to Trenton Irwin before and getting a roughing the passer penalty tacked on for the extra yards from TJ Dirty Watt there.
Yeah.
So he's willingly capable of making plays out of structure if you need him to. And I think this is a good game for him to be very opportunistic with that. So I'm predicting Jake Browning gets my game ball. Now, if he throws 2 or 3 picks, then it's all we already okay. That was stupid. Cut the tape. We ain't going to look at that no more. But I'll go with that as an out of the box prediction for me. I'm sorry, Jake. I don't mean to razz on you, bro. I'm trying to have faith in you, bro, because I think that you can help us manufacture some wins. Um, Now defense. This one gets tougher for me because again, I feel like it is an element of the coaching staff on the defense side of the ball, Coach Lou, the player. It just seemed like that the scheme has gotten outplayed, not because the players are bad at all. We got good players on our defense side of the ball. We know this, but I think that the scheme is starting to have gotten figured out, and I don't think they've made any adjustments to counter the adjustment that is made against them. So it's going to be tougher for me. I'm not going to stick with the old age saying, oh, Trey Hendrickson, even though I do think that he has 2 sacks in him to get. He has a perfect
Yeah.
opportunity with their left tackle being out, Cam Robinson, if I'm not mistaken. But also, what
Yep.
I've learned to know about this team, especially on defense, that they don't take advantage of the opportunities when they have an overwhelming mismatch difference that they have the advantage on. And yet they don't really take advantage of it all the time. So I'm not going to predict Trey Henderson gets my defensive game ball. However, if he goes out there and gets 4 sacks, I'm gonna eat crow later, and I'll be okay to eat crow on that one because I love Trey. Instead, I'm actually going to go with DJ Turner having a better game, a bounce back game. Look, he's got to go through his growing pains, man. He does. Cam Taylor Britt's going to be back in the fold. That should help him out, but he has to play better football. It happens to every rookie. We were saying the same thing about CTB last year, but we saw
Mm-hmm.
the potential of what he can grow into. And then by season's end, going to the playoffs, Cam Taylor Britt became exactly that. DJ Turner, Juan Drago Turner, the second, because I know that he's he's a junior. Uh, DJ Turner has shown flashes of potential, but I think what has happened was that we have overhyped him so much because we've we've liked his skills. He's played good football. It's just
Yeah.
unfortunately you got it. You had to go through your bruises a bit in that previous game. You got beat up quite a bit, but you still. I didn't see him quit on any plays. I didn't see him give up. And just be like, all right, I got beat, man. He wasn't out of it. He was still in there making tackles to the end, even if it was on pass plays that he got clearly beat on. Again,
Yeah.
the Deontay Johnson touchdown was ruled incomplete, even though I thought it was going to be ruled a touchdown. But that was because DJ Turner did not give up on that play. And I feel like that he's going to carry that mental toughness with him in this upcoming Monday night game and play better. He might get a turnover. He did actually recover a fumble, even though I think
He
that
did.
was kind of a fortunate, lucky fumble that Zach Carter had forced. But regardless, man, a turnover is a turnover, and he
Yeah.
still was aware enough to pick it up and scoop it, take advantage of Deontay Johnson, who did nothing on that play,
Mm-hmm.
and give us the ball and really with real good field position. So he's going to be the guy that I'm going to give the defensive game ball to. So those are our predictions. So before we wrap this up, Tim, because I know we're nearing in the hour mark of the show. It's been a great episode here with you. I
Yes,
understand
sir.
our boy B there couldn't be with us today. He's handling some business, but we got him covered today. Do you have any parting shots before we call it a night?
Yeah, I'm gonna be short and sweet because we're coming up on that hour mark. Always remember the AFC North, they are built to beat Joe Burrow. Who Dey, have a great week.
And even though the AFC North right now is built to beat Joe Burrow's still great enough to overcome that and beat them. And I'll
Amen.
end it on that note. Fans, thank you so much for jockeying with us today. I said jockeying, that was stupid. Thank you so much for joining us today. I don't know where I was going with that, by the way. It sounded cool in my head as I was saying it, but it is what it is, man. But to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us today as we now provide you with another episode of Run Through the Jungle. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, across all platforms. We're always available. You got our boy Chase Younce, who's on the Cut to the Chase podcast, doing great things over there. You'll hear our Raw Reaction show. We'll join you immediately after the game. Maybe not immediately because it's on Monday night, but Tuesday, we're going to rejoin you waking up refreshed, whether we're going to be mad as hell off of a loss or just calm and decompress, whatever the case may be, you're still going to get us with our raw reactions and hear us out. So we appreciate you. Have a good one, team. Let's go.